Oh, hey folks, how you doing? Paul here with you. Make sure this is recording. It is. We are going to talk today about the worst team in NFL history. Now, let's talk about the best team in NFL history. For my money, I know a lot of you think it was the New England Patriots. I could not argue with you because the Patriots' incredibly strong year, I forget, was it 2008 or something? I forgot what year it was, but they went like 15-0 or something. I mean, they didn't lose a game, and it was unbelievable. And they wound up losing in the playoffs, wasn't it? Or I think they lost in the playoffs. And was it Peyton Manning beat him or something, or that kid, his brother? Anyways, it was just kind of like unbelievable how good those teams were. But for my money, it was the Chicago Bears of the 1985 season. They were simply, in my opinion, unmatched. And I mean, don't forget, you had good San Francisco 49ers teams there too with Joe Montana, that incredible quarterback. So you had some good teams. You had the Browns, which were in the playoffs all the time. Once they had Brian Sipe, that quarterback in the late 70s, and then Bernie Kosar from the University of Miami. Cleveland was always pursuing the big games at the end of the season. So you had some good teams. But the Chicago Bears were unmatched, in my opinion. They lost one game. And they lost it to Don Shula and the Miami Dolphins. And Don Shula had seen his share of novel approaches to the game. Like when I say that, I would mean like one way you could do it with baseball was they used to hire midgets. They would hire them for one game or a week or whatever. And at times when it was urgent, when they got up to the plate, there might have been the bases loaded with 2 outs. And they would put that guy in. He was a midget, and you would have about this much strike zone in order to be able to miss. It was unbelievable, so they would always walk. And that was one of the aspects of the game. Now, Don Shula had seen all sorts of aspects of the game, like, 4 people on the line, 5 nickelbacks, so, you could cover the pass, all sorts of different things. But Don Shula knew just what to do with the refrigerator. And the refrigerator was a man named William Perry. He was a massive man. He was they claimed he was 368, and he was probably more like about 406, 402. I think he was over 400 pounds. And this is astonishing. I mean, it's one thing when you have somebody that's heavy, but it's another thing when they're engaging in sports which are movement included. This is unbelievable. And what they did with him is he was a defensive lineman and middle linebacker or something, or defensive tackle. And the Chicago Bears, it was that tight end coach. I forgot his name, but he was a wide receiver or tight end. And I liked him. Mike, I forgot what his name was, but a good guy. And he knew just what to do with him, and he promptly put him in as running back. Can you believe this? A 400-pound running back. And that guy had pretty good hands. And he could catch passes too, which he did. At least one. And it made it so fun to watch football when that was going on because, for God's sakes, they would put him in. The Bears would put Mike Ditka. That was the name of the coach there. He was a tight end in the NFL in previous years. Nice guy, young guy too. And what happened was when they would put him in, it was just like a Ringling Brothers carnival because they would give him the ball and they'd put somebody in front of him with little regard of the guy in front of him on his own team. And I mean, he would plow through there like a locomotive. And I'm not making this up. You can go take a look at some of the plays from him. And no matter what he did, no matter how many guys were in front of him, he got 4 or 5 yards. And I mean, that's if they had 7 or 8, 9 guys there that could call for help. Most of the time, he got 8, 9, 10, 11 yards every time they gave it to him, and he just punched in the middle. So you had all these different things going on in football, and between the refrigerator, they called him a refrigerator, I still remember them showing him at McDonald's, and he'd have like 4 French fries large, and 3 or 4 of those Big Macs and a couple of quarter pounders. He was unbelievable. He had a brother, too, who wound up playing for the Cleveland Browns. Anyways, a couple years later, he was also big, but not quite as big. And he didn't make quite the splash as William the Refrigerator did. He is in permanent folklore of NFL history. So, well, every week I turned on the TV, and I'd be like an hour into the game, you know what I mean, or 40 minutes into the game. I swear to you, every time I would turn the TV on, and they were just introducing big screen TVs. So I remember being in Costco and Kmart and stuff, and going over to the big screen TVs, which weren't very good at the time, let's be honest, but it was a big deal for us then. And looking at the quarterback was also very good too. I forgot his name, but he was a big, tall kid. Kept getting into trouble with the league because Jim McMahon, unbelievably talented, unbelievably smart in like an athletic way. I'm not saying he was a genius, but he was so good and so talented and tall. He was a tall fella, and he wasn't a skinny mini. He was wasn't fat, but I mean, he could get the job done. And every week I'd go in there at the big screen TVs in the store, and there'd be 40 minutes into the game, and it would be like 26-3 or 31-7, something like that. I mean, it was just a wipeout every week practically. I don't remember too many close games with the Bears. That's why I hold them as a higher level than the Patriots. The Patriots got behind many times in that year. They came back, and a great deal due to Tom Brady. And they also had, they had a lot of, I'm not sure if it was that year they had that ex-receiver from the Vikings, Randy Moss. I'm not sure. They might have. But no matter, they had what they needed. The Patriots did. But the Bears were stronger. And it would have been a summed-up deal had it not been for Don Shula, the coach of the Miami Dolphins, because he had seen his share of interesting, novel ideas in football for strategy, and he had evidently seen that before. And what he did was, it all came down. It was a very, very close game in Miami, and the Bears, I think, were behind by a couple of points, or they were ahead by a couple of points. And it was anyone's game, and it was late in the game, maybe late third quarter, early fourth quarter, something like that. And it was third down and like 3, or 3rd and 2. It was short yardage. I remember that. And they told McMahon to just give the ball to the ref, not the referee, but the refrigerator. And the only problem was that Don Shula knew what was going to happen. And Don Shula completely refused to cover the wide receivers, and he just put every man on the line. He put everyone on the line, and they shut him down, and that was a first. It was really an incredibly smart, noble effort of the Dolphins, because they beat the Chicago Bears, but the Bears won every other game. And it was unbelievable. So it was only because of Don Shula. Don Shula, he was a disciplinarian. So anyways, there have been some good teams and bad teams. Now changing the subject. Folks, without question, it was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And what made it so unintentionally funny was that it was complete chaos, complete disarray, complete lack of coherency, not lack of discipline, but you had literal journeyman players that were coming off a delicatessen to work as linemen because they were butchers and they kind of looked tough. I mean, it was ridiculous, folks. The 76, hang on a second here. The 76 Tampa Bay Buccaneers were just the worst team ever in the NFL. There's no doubt about that. You cannot get away from it. On the first year, I forgot his name, Buddy. I forgot what the name of the guy. It takes too long to look it up over here on this internet. But the coach was a collegiate pro football coach. And he was a horse's ass, is what he was. He was an egotist. He loved himself. And he was a strict disciplinarian, and was well known for hurting his athletes and through over rigorous training. And this you can get away with when you're doing college ball, because in some cases, not every case, but in some cases, some of the players are not far from their mother's arms. You know, they're 19 or whatever it is, or early 20s. And I mean, you know, a couple years ago, they were eating Fruit Loops with their mom making it for them and stuff like that. So this was kind of a different kind of thing. And I forget his name, but he was just awful. He looked awful. He had this shaggy white hair and wore this cap that was like a Navy cap pulled down. He looked ridiculous. And I don't know whether he drank or not. Probably after the first 2 or 3 games, he probably did drink, if not less than 2 or 3 games. And the first real embarrassment was that, like in the first 3 games, the guy that was hired from the delicatessen, that wound up being like the middle linebacker or the guard, it was so bad, he said, once he quit, that he said that he literally asked to go to the bathroom during training because he was hurt so bad, his knee was so tender he couldn't play, that he went and asked to go to the bathroom and never came back. That's the kind of thing that happened with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's like a running joke. And that's what he admitted. He said he was afraid to come back because they were all afraid of getting hurt. And they had record number of injured players, seriously injured players, because he didn't care about anything, that coach. He was a real asshole. And you have to understand, when you're working with kids that are a year and a half off mom making them shredded wheat cereal for breakfast, you know, you can get away with that kind of stuff. But not in the NFL. The players are too set in their ways. So every week, it was everything that Tampa Bay could do to put up with them, honest to God. And what made it so comical is that, believe it or not, even though they were so terrible, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a perfect first season. They went 0-14, meaning that they lost every single game. And it wasn't by coincidence. They were absolutely that bad. And it just, nothing worked out for them. And it was just like the running joke. You're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, well, that's a win. And finally what happened was, after the first year, this is what makes it so funny, they lost like their first 4 or 5 games, or maybe it was more. They might have lost like 6 or 7. And don't forget, they only played 14 games then. So they wound up losing. I think about it. On the second season, they lost their first 6 games. I believe. Like I said, I would give this to you, but it takes this fucking phone 2 minutes or 3 minutes to pull it up. Trust me. They went through like half the season, and they were 0-20 or something like that. And they were talking about 2 years of no wins. But then what happened is that the inevitable happened. And that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had no choice but to win. That was the weird thing. I know this is hard to really understand, but I'll explain it to you. No matter how bad a team is, at some point in the NFL, maybe not in college, but in NFL, guess what? You're going to win a game. By hook or crook or forfeit or whatever, you're going to win a game. And after around, I think it was around 18 or 19 games of continual losing, there began to be a real fear. And this is what makes it so comical. It's hard to explain. But as bad as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were, at some point, around 6 games into the season, each NFL team that had to face them, they had butterflies in their stomach, and they admitted it that they didn't know what to do, because eventually, I mean, you're not going to go 0-48. You're not going to go 4 years without a win. Chances are, within 28, 30 games, you're going to win a game. And everybody kind of knew it, no matter how bad the Bucs were. And this had beyond a jinx effect. And the teams, I think I even remember hearing it. They said, well, eventually they got to win. I hope it's not against us. We don't want that on our record, blemishing our record, saying that we were the first team to lose to the hapless Buccaneers. And that's exactly what happened. I forgot the first team that lost against them, but it was really something, because it was predictable. So there's your story of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we will wrap up the video. And I think I showed you the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but if I didn't, this is what they look like with that horrendous helmet that they had with the feather coming off the top, and these ridiculously ugly uniforms that they donned every week. And some of them were even worse, because some of them were orange color, and that was that very weak orange, not like that nice Cleveland Browns orange, that you could get away with. This was, like that puke orange. So anyways, folks, take care. That's my little run with you for Saturday. Take care, and I will see you at the movies. Don't forget to subscribe. We have other interesting football stories coming up, and we will see you then. Take care. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.